Good morning. I was recently at a developers conference, and it was in Phoenix. So my keynote was on Monday morning, and I said, well, gosh, I better spend the weekend in Phoenix with all the rain in Seattle. So went down there and brought my family. And we were by the pool, just playing with my 8-year-old daughter. Life was good. And I heard a few folks, the conference attendees in the pool, that said, we're talking to each other and, about the conference and technology and what have you. And one of them said, so who's the keynote speaker tomorrow? And the other one said, oh, it's Tod Nielsen. So of course I kind of casually swam over there and brought my daughter to say, hey, they're going to talk about me. And so here in the discussion, one of them says, yeah, he's pretty good. And then the other guy's wife kind of swims up and says, yeah, but he's kind of corny. So, my daughter looks at me like, Dad, you're corny, and I'm thinking of all the C words to use. Charming, charismatic, but corny. So, before I gave that presentation, I said, you know what, maybe I should cut all the corny stuff out of my presentation, and this is going to be a Paul Flessner type keynote where I'm just pounding you with facts and data. And unfortunately, that time, I had like 40 slides, and when I went through and pulled out all the corny stuff, I only had 4 slides left. So I had to do the hour keynote anyway. So what I want to do today is spend some time talking about the whole WinDNA platform and the platform direction for what Microsoft is doing. And spend, for those of you that have seen me present before though, I can't start a keynote without doing a top 10 list. So today's top 10 list is the following. I was in the zone when I was thinking of top 10 lists, so I couldn't settle on one. So what I've come up with for today's top 10 list is the top 10 lists I considered for today's top 10 list. So we have a little bit of recursion going on back here. Top 10 lists I considered for today's top 10 lists. Number 10, the top 10 sleepless nights for the SQL development team. Paul Flessner talked about the world record that we achieved with SQL Server and the incredible benchmark with the TPC benchmark. What he probably didn't say is the amount of just work and effort and energy that went into making that happen. We went to the SQL team a few weeks before the Windows 2000 launch saying, hey, you know what? We've told the world everything there is about Windows 2000. Can you guys really rally together and give us, a great audited benchmark that we can talk about? And in classic dev fashion, they were like, we got 2 weeks, no problem. So they're feeling good about it, no problem, no problem. We're a week later, we're, hey guys, you got any numbers? Yeah, you'll have numbers. So they start getting nervous. And the midnight vigil goes on, where for 7 straight days, those guys didn't go home. And to keep them there, we're sending them Jolt Cola floats, trying to keep the energy going. And the world record was achieved at 6:40 in the morning, the day of the Windows 2000 launch. So we told the dev guys that next time, that first week of buffer, we might just want to start a little earlier. Number 9, top 10 reasons Y2K was a yawner. Y2K was this big deal. It was going to change the world. It was going to blow up. And it really turned out to be not as big a deal with all the planning and preparation that went on. And at Microsoft on New Year's Eve, we had on the Redmond campus 1,000 people ready, for the world to end. And we were just ready to just jump in and do what we can. And we had gone through fire drills and preparation, and we're just really excited about, okay, we're going to be able to solve a problem. Well, it became clear that not much was happening. So 1,000 people are antsy and just, no one's calling, what's up? So about 10 o'clock at night, we get a phone call. And it's like, I've got an emergency and this customer had a big problem. Help, help, help. They were on the East Coast. They thought it was a big bug. So 1,000 people that had trained for 6 months were in gear. We had debuggers going. We were looking at their code. They had people response. We were chatting with them. We were online. We just had an attack squad all over it. And it turned out in the end, it wasn't a Y2K bug. It was just a bug in their script code, and we found it, and we fixed it, or helped someone to fix it, and life went on. Well, on the Monday, we got a phone call from the president of the company saying, hey, sorry about the fire drill we gave you guys. But one thing I want to ask you, What do I have to do to get that kind of support every day? Number 8, the top 10 ads we considered running to deal with the crud flowing from Redwood Shores. Many of you have been sending us mail or mentioning to us saying, you know what, those guys from down there, they're sending out ads and people believe it. You know, when are you going to fight back? You've got a great product. What are you going to do to make a difference? So some of you may have seen that in Monday's Wall Street Journal, we ran a big ad talking about our world record. We're going to be doing a lot more aggressive, if you will, air cover to get the word out about our offering. But as we've been thinking about what we can do to, to really fight back and show the world that we are in this one and we're going to be serious about the enterprise, we have a few folks that get a little bit carried away. And one proposal that came by my desk that I didn't understand, it was for a request for $100,000 to pay some painters. And, being the curious guy that I am, I was like, what would I be doing with $100,000 for painters? And it turned out that what the team wanted to do is the Kingdome in Seattle is going to be imploded on March 23rd. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to paint the Oracle logo all around the Kingdome. So that then when the implosion happens and it's on television cameras around the world, everyone would see Oracle imploding on itself. And I didn't do that. The one ad that I saw that I kind of liked, but for obvious reasons I can't run, but it was a little bit too hard-hitting, so we've toned it back a little bit. But this ad is a big full-page ad. It's got a picture of Larry Ellison, and it says, you can't spell Larry Ellison without using the letters L-I-A-R. It was a little over the top, that's why I killed it. Painting Kingdome okay, the other one not. Number 7. Top 10 Easter eggs you know are there but can't find. I was on a mission last night because I needed another top 10 list item. So I was talking to some of the dev guys to say, okay, if there's one thing that gets people excited is the Easter egg for SQL Server. Tell me what it is. Everybody knows it's there. I'll tell it to the group. They'll be happy. You'll be a superstar. Life will be wonderful. Well, I got them pretty drunk last night, but not quite enough to get the Easter egg. And so I thought about just making it up. But the problem with that is all of you would send me mail saying, Todd, I can't get it to work, what's up? And what I commit to you is, by the SQL Server launch, I'm going to find out what that Easter egg is, and I'll let you know. Number 6, top 10 world record that Todd has been involved with. Little known fact, I do have one other world record. I was involved, in the SQL world record, but I sort of had a 25-year drought in my life since my last attempt at a world record. Many of you have kids, and my little daughter plays soccer, and they wear these things called shin guards. So when you're 10 years old, there's not a lot you can do. So my attempt at the world record was I was going to wear shin guards for a year without taking them off. And as weird and psycho as that sounds, I had it audited, and there indeed are the pictures of me when I was 10 years old for wearing shin guards for a year. Made it into Ripley's Believe It or Not, and goes to show you what a psycho kind of guy you're dealing with up here. Number 5, top 10 ways to mess with the product test organization. So I used to run the Access development team, and we had this deal in the early stages when we were building Access 97, 98. That we were going to motivate the test team to sit, whoever found the 10,000th bug in that development process was going to get to go on a week's vacation. So the testers worked like crazy and pounded out the bugs and things were cranking along up until about 9,900. And then the gamesmanship started. So everybody's sort of holding their bugs. And our bug database is kept in the SQL Server database, as you'd expect. And so everybody's kind of holding their cards, and it begins the kind of week-long poker game. So pretty soon testers aren't going home, everybody's staying there day and night, but no one's really turning bugs in because they're trying to be able to get to the magic 10,000 mark. Well, one day it happens. It's a weekend, it's like 2 in the morning, and there's 4 guys there, and all of a sudden they go, war, and they all pound in their bugs, and the 10,000 bug gets hit. And we had it set up so that when that milestone happened, a board would light up and would show who the winner was. So they all went to the hall to see who won it or who would be going on the vacation. And of the 4 guys there, the guy that won it was home sleeping. And they were like, what is up with that? You know, this isn't fair. We're here late. This is not fair. And they went to see what happened. And it turned out that tester got a little bit above thinking ahead of the other guys. He said, you know, screw this waiting all day and trying to submit bugs. So he wrote a little piece of code in the database that would check every time a record got in, and then would lock the database and make sure that he could get his in when 9,999 happens. Well, of course, if you haven't slept for a week, you're pretty hacked off right now. So, and this guy that won it, you know, was he was a stud, big tester guy. So the guys were upset. So they backed out all the entries and made his entry 10,001. And so he came in on Monday thinking, gonna win, get the prize. And he finds out that somebody else won, and he was the 10,000th and first bug. Well, obviously, he can't tell anybody. That's impossible. I wrote all this code. I was supposed to win. So for 2 weeks, all he did is sit in his office debugging his code going, crap, what happened? How did I lose that? Needless to say, we don't do those kind of motivation things with the test organization anymore. Number 4, top 10 things you've sent us a lot of mail about. We know one thing about my job I love is working with this community. You tell me what you think and we try to respond. One recent incident that happened is we made a judgment error that we fixed 24 hours later, which is we were going to cancel our MVP support or MVP program online. Well, I knew that the MVP program was popular and I wasn't involved in that mistake, and so I fixed it quickly when I heard about it. But let me tell you about how I heard about it. I typically get about 300 to 500 email messages a day. And I hadn't checked mail. It was Sunday, so I hadn't checked mail until Monday. So when I get to work and check my mail on Monday, I got, no exaggeration, 9,000 email messages. Something had to happen, what was up, and the subject line of all 9,000 is, you know, MVP, MVP, you suck, Todd, MVP, MVP, you suck, you suck. So, needless to say, if you have issues, you can send us mail. We do listen, we will respond. 9,000 of them sort of makes the point very clear. Number 3, top 10 demo fiascos we live to tell about. I'm including this one because I'm doing a couple demos that it might be a little shaky. But my favorite story here is I was demoing the new Auto PC 2 weeks before it was ready to go out. And I was in Palm Springs at a show, and I had a Jaguar on stage demoing this Auto PC. And it's sort of a cool little product that you can turn on and you talk to and all this stuff. Well, I was a little skeptical that what is, you know, this stuff going to do for cars and the like. So the night before I show up to rehearsal, I turn the car on as I'm ready to practice the demo, and it's got the speaker where the Auto PC talks to you. As soon as I turn it on, it says, "This beta software has expired." Number 2. Top 10 hosts we considered for the Windows 2000 launch event. As many of you may know, we had Santana at the Windows 2000 launch event, but to plan a launch event is a big deal and it takes some time. So we had to look at a lot of different people. And I have a little video here I want to show of some of the people we decided not to use and their screen tests for the Windows 2000 launch.
Win2K auditions. Bruno Campos, take 103. Action.
You know, it's a funny thing. Windows 2, oh, glasses. No, I'll just.
105. Action.
You know, it's a funny thing. Windows 2000 server files system encryption provides protection for sensitive data.
Cut. Windows 2000 auditions. Ali Landry, take 6. Action.
I don't know what I did before you guys brought web folder support into Windows 2000. Microsoft, you rock.
Cut. Cindy Williams, take 241.
Microsoft Windows 2000. Sorry.
Got Cindy Williams, take 244.
I'm sorry, but I don't, you see, when I say Microsoft and Windows 2000, I get so many, it conjures just so much stuff is coming at me that if I could just have one, like, if somebody can give me a defining word that would, like, represent Microsoft, and I could have it as, like, my subtext. I hate to get, you know, accuracy here, but if I could have that as my
Gary Coleman, take 502.
Ready? I've written a song for this audition, and here it goes.
Got Don Knotts, take 1. Action.
And to help developers find heap corruption problems faster, more reliably, the page heap feature has been what?
Don Knotts, take 3.
And to help developers find heap construction,
4.
the page heap feature has been built into the Windows 2000 heap corrupt. Oh shit.
Don Knotts, take 7.
And to help developers find heap corruption problems faster and more reliably, the page heap feature has been built into the Windows 2000 Heap Manager. Wow.
Take 307.
This is my mark. I can talk now, right? Right here? Okay. Hi. You know who I am. I know. My name is Eric Estrada, and I have been in Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse.
Windows 2000. Shit.
Don't cut.
Action.
Still using Linux, sissy boy? Windows 2000 kicks butt.
7.
And also, I did a special appearance in Behind the Green Door. I played Jessica.
I no longer have to reboot my... Wait, no, don't cut.
So McNeely says to Torvalds, your name sounds like a nasal cavity. He had to be there.
Oh, that's a good one. 44.
Okay. See, it's been a long time since I've done this. And then I can do one of these if he really needs it to sell the product. Or this. You know, but I can't do it going this way. But
Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be no sun.
and then I can do like one of these. But that's not too good either, is it? Oh, God. My back.
Cut. Eric Estrada, take 305. Action.
Windows 2000. Making chips perform beyond the son of a bitch.
You know, they offered me the part of Bill Gates in that TV movie, but scheduling conflicts. You know how it is.
Cut. Don Knotts, take 12.
Microsoft Windows 2000. Bitchin'.
Cut.
This is Win 2K Auditions, Anthony Michael Hall, 16, and Mark.
Action.
Hi, I'm not Bill Gates, but I play him on TV. So who better to tell you about Windows 2000? Can we cut? I'm sorry. I'm not going to get this, am I? This. Look at their faces. I mean, it sucked. The tape was horrible.
And finally, number one of today's top 10 lists. Top 10 support complaints we didn't understand. We recently got, or actually a year ago, we got a call from a guy that was just super upset. He was mad. He sent us this letter saying he was going to do terrible things to us and sue us, and how dare we do this to him, and demanded that we fix it. And of course we were like, but he didn't give us any details. So we would call back and say, geez, what can we do? We're sorry. And, you know, he said, you know what you did, fix it. So the dialogue's going back and forth, and he's not telling us what's going on. So we sent someone to his office to find out what the scoop is. And it turns out that the following had happened. He had recently upgraded to a copy of Word, or sorry, to a copy of Office, and his IT department decided to play a little trick on him. He apparently wasn't the most technical guy in the world. And you know how Word has this feature of autocorrect, or actually all of Office does? So if I type the letters TEH and hit space, it automatically corrects. So his IT department said, hey, wouldn't it be funny to play on this guy the following trick? So what happened is his name was Readiness. And every time he would sign a document or enter his name, he'd hit space, and it would do that. And he thought we did it! Oh well, that is today's top 10 list. So what I want to talk about today is what's happening with our platform investments, what are we doing going forward. One of the things that's great about being at Microsoft is at all levels in the company, there's a deep understanding that developers are the key to our success. We know that people don't buy our operating system or our platform components unless developers like yourselves have built great products on top of it to add and deliver the value that people are looking for. So throughout the history of the company, we focused on working with the developer community to try to provide as much support and information as we can so you can be successful building applications and we can be successful being an infrastructure provider. And it's ranged through hardware and graphical interfaces, through object-oriented programming, and then now onto the internet. I want to talk about what's happening there. If you look at the internet and the evolution of the web, it started back with a very simple protocol with TCP/IP, and was really focused on connectivity and hooking groups of researchers and folks together that wanted to share information. Somewhere in the early 90s, an HTML came out, which again was a very simple protocol that, or technology that allowed developers to create web pages or interfaces that allowed people to view them on any device that supported a browser. And today, the web there's I think 40 million different websites out there, and the number of people doing things on the web is incredible. And it's really easy to browse the web to get information. But in the investments that Microsoft has been making, understanding the internet, working with developers, they're still lacking a set of programmability or a set of structured capabilities to make it easy to really program the web. And with the advent of XML, another relatively simple technology, we think it's going to continue the web's amazing growth, but it's going to change in a fundamental way so that the web will become much more programmable and something developers will be able to harvest, as well as this idea that there will be sets and sets of web services available for people to take advantage of. So what we think is going to happen with XML and, if you will, this programmable web is people are going to bring together everything. They'll bring together with their platform and tools their core investments on the servers and PCs. They'll be able to connect to multiple devices. There'll be support for the existing investments and the existing infrastructure that is out there, as well as taking advantage of these new mega services that are going to be proliferating on the web very soon. So to illustrate this, I want to show a little demo, just to frame this up a little bit. And I've got I'm looking at Outlook here, and I'm going to show what may happen with some of these web services in the future. So what I'm going to do in Outlook, and this is the customized version of Outlook, I'm going to go ahead and purchase a gift from my wife on our anniversary. So I say purchase gift. And one thing I should say, just to come out, to be perfectly upfront with you and share with you my deep, dark secrets. New Year's Eve, I missed it. I don't know about you guys, but apparently my wife paid a lot of attention to those De Beers commercials, about the diamond on New Year's Eve. And so at the stroke of midnight, when she leans forward, I thought she was leaning forward for a kiss. Instead, she was expecting the diamond necklace. It wasn't there. So I'm basically in a 1,000-year hole that I'm going to be trying to dig my way out of. So in this particular scenario, I want to now buy Allison one of the many gifts I'm going to have to buy over the next 1,000 years. And so I can go ahead and say, shopping, what do I want to do? I can look at Pier 1 and say, well, dining table, that's not going to do much. So let's go ahead and filter this on jewelry and say, okay, what are the jewelry items that I've got out there that I can see? And I can look at these and go, you know what, I'm still in trouble. Navy SEALs watches aren't going to really get much. And what I want to do is I want to go to Nordstrom's, because she likes a lot of Nordstrom's. But how can I make that happen without having to go to the Nordstrom site and use a different interface and the like? Well, in this world of web services, and when Nordstrom would provide its interfaces in an XML manner, what I'll be able to do is go to the Nordstrom website, simply grab the URL, drag and drop it. Oops, I've moved this, sorry. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm going to take the Nordstrom's URL, and I'm going to drag and drop it right here into a little viewer. And what's happening is it's now going out to the Nordstrom site, looking at what XML services it provides, and then adding that to my Outlook view. And you can see right now that it's also filtered the Nordstrom's information based upon the jewelry selection or the filter that I provided. So I can go ahead and look here and see that, you know, the pearl necklace is indeed what I want to buy, so I'll go ahead and say I want to add that. When I then hit send, it can then go off and call the Microsoft Passport service to get my billing information. This is another web service that can be used to bring all this together, so I can have, as a consumer, one central place to do my shopping and view things on the web and work with these multiple sites. Now, the other thing that we'll be doing, so that being an example, one of the things that the folks here will be asking is, well, what can I do to build web services? What are you doing programmatically? And I'm going to go ahead and look at Visual Studio here. And much like today, how you add a grid control to Visual Studio, or you add you know, what a variety of controls or ActiveX components to your Visual Studio environment. In the next version of Visual Studio, you're actually going to be able to add web services. So I'll go ahead and take the Nordstrom's site again, and I'll drag and drop the URL down into my control box. And now Visual Studio is going out assessing what services are programmable. And now I can actually program against the Nordstrom site. So let me click this and say dim x as new. Oops, sorry, that's Todster's problem. Dim x as new. Can Tod program? Let's see. As new. Autocomplete for some reason it's not. I got to try one more thing. This should work. If not, there we go. Oh jeez. Can Tod type? I'm not sure. As new. There we go. So you can see I could go through and program against this particular site, choose what information I wanted to program against, and have it be a native part of my Visual Studio environment. So with Visual Studio 7, what you're going to be able to do is not only program against all the web services that are out on the internet, but you'll also be able to create your own web services. So if you want to provide a particular tax calculation service or some aggregation service, you'll be able to create it with Visual Studio, have it run on your web server, and expose that service as XML. So let's go back over here and talk more about what that means. So some of the examples of web services that we think will be happening over the coming months and year is in the consumer space. Today, if you're a consumer and you've got your banking, brokerage, and insurance information, if you want to see one consolidated, aggregated view of that data, it's hard to see it all into one place. You have to go to 3 different sites. With web services, what you'll be able to do is a company like Intuit will be able to take their Quicken product and ask you where you keep your information. You simply point at the 3 different websites, and they could then together bring together and aggregate a view that you could analyze and pivot on and view and have all the information into one central place. In the area of devices, we think devices are going to continue to proliferate and grow and grow and grow in their popularity. So you want to be able to program and send information to them without having to learn a new programming model, without having to do a whole bunch of different things. One of the beauties about XML is it can be user interface independent. So the program can say, hey, I need to send a page because that's, or I need to send simple text because on the pager that's all I can see, and to get that information out to the various devices. In the case of business supply chain, there's all kinds of areas for integration of bringing together multiple services. And then finally, in the area of developer building blocks, much like today, there's a market for thousands and thousands of components that developers use to program and include in their applications. We think there's going to be a sea of services out there that you'll be able to program against. Instead of having to build your own credit card authentication code or your own tax calculation code or authentication code or what have you, you'll be able to use a service and include that in your application. So in essence, the APIs that you program against, instead of just being local, will now be local APIs as well as extend about on the web. So this is just an illustration of some of the aggregation that is possible with this financial aggregation service, bringing together multiple services and allowing developers to really integrate and focus on their area of expertise. And when if they don't have expertise writing a particular set of code or getting at certain data, they can then integrate that into the system. So our platform strategy really exists at two levels. One, obviously we're going to continue to provide the best of breed technologies so that you can continue to build the best, great individual applications. But in addition, you're now going to be able to build systems of applications and hook multiple systems together and really get to this integration. This is made possible because of XML, the benefits of a loosely coupled, message-oriented programming model around XML. Now, I should briefly say here, since I get asked this a lot, when it comes to Microsoft's commitment to XML, let me be very clear. We are absolutely 100% committed to standard XML. There's not a secret trick where you get going down the pipe and oops, you know, this only works with Microsoft servers or whatever. In order to be successful, we know that we have to support industry standard XML so that you can hook all of the heterogeneous systems out there into your end application. So if you need to be able to work with a web service that's on a Sun server via this XML message bus platform, we absolutely are going to support that. As far as integration being the sweet spot, it really is kind of the core of bringing together what the web is. As it's connecting more and more people together, we need to enable this connectivity of applications. So the interesting thing is, when I talked about the financial aggregation scenario, you can see that this integration becomes a key to all types of application scenarios. So if you look at web commerce, today everybody and their mother that has a business is trying to get on the web and do web commerce. And what a lot of the existing businesses are doing is they have one set of infrastructure for their website, and it's not at all connected or integrated to their existing systems that they've been using running their business for the past few years. So you need to be able to hook and integrate into the existing systems of order fulfillment and customer management and your suppliers and your order entry. And what this platform investment is going to allow is these websites to sort of grow backwards and enable this kind of connectivity so that as developers, you'll be able to really bring things together and instead of having multiple duplicated systems and trying to deal with all the hassles that result from that. The interesting thing is it also happens not only from the web commerce scenario, but it's also in the supply chain. Everybody's trying to do B2B these days, and in the B2B space, you want to connect and work with all your suppliers. And again, it's the same core technologies or information that are going to enable this. So what is Microsoft's kind of platform? What are we talking about here? Specifically, and I know Paul Flessner showed this slide on Tuesday, is WinDNA is what we call our platform investments. And what we've really tried to do, and organizationally at the company, we've brought all of the developers into one group that are working on these technologies, ranging from the stuff we provide in the clients, to all the middle tier services, to our database and our data tier. And today our products include Visual Studio, Windows, SQL Server, Site Server, and SNA Server. But this is going to be a big year for Microsoft because we're launching a whole new wave of, if you will, the 2,000 servers, the 2,000 technology for our platform. I'll talk about each of these in more depth, but we've recently launched Windows 2000, and coming here in the next few months, we'll be having a launch event at TechEd for our next 2000 wave of products. So really what Windows DNA is it's not just bringing together the whole 2000 investments, but we view it as sort of the first step towards this web services or this next generation internet platform that we're investing in and trying to enable, which will enable things like stronger customer interaction, support for new devices, support for integrating applications all together, working through the firewall. I know today there's a bunch of issues folks have. There will be a native support for our platform, as well as support for these mega services. And all of this, again, is going to be based around this XML backbone message bus that will encompass the web. So I've talked about Windows DNA. People say, okay, fine. Is anyone using it? You know, what's happening? You read the press and you listen to a lot of the stuff people say, and is Microsoft even a player on the web? What's the scoop? And so if you look at the data that's out there, according to Netcraft's most recent study, on the internet, overall, of all the websites out there, 25% of the websites are running Windows DNA or Microsoft-based technologies using Windows, SQL Server, and our core technologies. As you move up the chain, though, what's interesting is if you start to narrow the scope of sites from just the folk, you know, if you throw out the people that are just slinging HTML and you look at the sites that are doing real programming logic, like secure sites, 43% of the secure sites on the internet today are using our technologies. Of the top 50 shopping sites on the web, 52% are using our technologies. And last month there was a study by Goldman Sachs of all the B2B folks that are doing B2B portals and B2B investments. 61% of the B2B companies are built upon Windows 2000, SQL Server, and our Windows DNA platform. This is a slide that says, you know what, you're not alone. There's a whole bunch of people, and the list could go on and on and on, of people that are using the technology, taking advantage of it. And the one commitment, one of the many commitments I make to you is that we are going to do a much better job of expanding and our efforts to communicate to the world that, hey, the world, the internet, is being built upon Microsoft's products. People every day are coming up with on our web platform with SQL Server, Windows 2000, and Windows DNA. Now, one of the things I get asked a lot is, okay, fine, your stuff is great, Todd, for getting up and started. It's easy to use. The tools are great, and all that stuff. But you know, once I need to go on the web and really be serious, I have a scale problem with Microsoft's platform. Flessner talked a lot about what's happened with the TPC benchmarks and the kind of two approaches we've got towards scalability. Obviously, one approach is hardware scale, or scale up, which is how do you build a bigger box? And now that Windows 2000 supports 32-way SMP, folks like Unisys and Compaq and others, and Dell are going to be building big servers. So having a big box that can do this sort of processing power is going to be something that will be very possible with our platform investments. One of the downsides to the scale-up approach is there's a single point of failure. If your server goes down, it's down, and life is not good. In the scale-out approach, which is bringing together multiple systems so that they can scale, so you can get scaled linearly by adding more and more servers to your system, you get an incredible level of scalability. The reason we were able to achieve this TPC benchmark with SQL Server was because of this scale-out approach. One of the interesting things, I was down at a big.com a few months ago, and they said, you know, scale-out is what it's all about. We love the scale-out approach. We don't have a scale problem with your platform. What we have is a manageability problem. How do I manage this stuff? Todd, have you ever tried to add a server to one of these clusters? It's a major pain. What are you going to do to fix that? And I'll show a demo in a few minutes of a new product we're calling Application Center that focuses on addressing that specific problem. If you look at the benchmarks that have been done, here's another benchmark using all of our Windows DNA platform components, so using the application server technologies, SQL Server, Windows 2000. We do very well compared with the competition as far as the performance. Typically, we're finding we're getting twice the performance at half the cost. So Windows 2000. The product's launched. We're all, Microsoft, very excited about it. One of the things that people say is, Gus, does Microsoft have an application server? And our answer there is, yes, we've integrated into the box. When people think of the application server category, they think of, you know, transactions and message queuing and that kind of stuff. And we've got it all built into the Windows 2000 box. One of the things about Windows 2000, the quick story here, was we were getting ready to test it, and as we were getting more and more betas and feedback, we wanted to make sure we get it right. This one has to be rock solid. So we had this idea, what can we do to get people engaged and excited about Windows 2000, really get more people testing it? And we thought, who else would be better to help us do this than people that hate us? So what we decided to do is we put a few servers on the web back in October, November, and we sent mail on one of the Linux forums saying, hey everybody, we've got 3 Windows 2000 servers and they're up and running and they rock. Well, as you'd expect, the 5,000 folks in that Linux forum just started pounding the Windows 2000 and pounding it and pounding it and pounding it. And anytime there would be a bug or a problem, we'd fix the bug and we'd bring it back up, and they're pounding, pounding, pounding. And then about 2 weeks into that process, one of the guys on the Linux side posted a note on their forum saying, wait a second, we're helping those bastards. All we're doing is making their job easier. Let's put a moratorium. No one else will go pound or do anything to Windows 2000. So for 3 days, no hits. I mean, it was just, nothing happened. There was nothing from those guys. So Brian Valentine, who's the dev manager of the Windows 2000 team, said, well, we'll see what I can do here. So Brian goes to the forum and he says, hey everyone, I'm proud to announce Windows 2000 has been up and running 3 solid days. Hasn't gone down. It rocks. It's great. I'm super excited about it. 15 minutes later, 5,000 people are pounding the crud out of saying, oh, we're going to take it out. SQL Server 2000. I could talk about what's happening with SQL Server 2000. I know Flessner spent a bunch of time on it on Tuesday. The point is, we're really excited about the investments we're making here as far as becoming a core to making its debut as being the best database for the internet for these next generation of applications. The things we're investing in with XML and the performance improvements and the scale and all the new features that Paul talked about are things we're really excited about and hope that you guys are excited about as well. So Application Center is the product I mentioned that is focused on making it easy to bring together or manage a web farm or if you will, a cluster of your servers. It really makes software scale out easy. Makes the application management easy and really it improves or enables the whole mission critical availability, because if you've got 10 servers in the server farm and 1 server goes down, you still have 9 others to pick up the load. Now at the Windows 2000 launch, we showed a demo where we had 32 servers and 500 clients doing 1 billion transactions a day. Well, it turns out that configuration isn't quite portable yet. So I'm going to bring Bob Pulleyman up, and we're going to take a look at a demo of Application Center. But in our configuration, we're going to go from 1 server to 2 servers. But it can grow beyond that. So Bob.
How you doing, Todd? What we're going to do today is we went through and we've done the big demo. What we wanted to do is to show, after doing the 32 servers, the 500 clients, the 1 billion generated hits, we wanted to show you how we put that entire demo together. So I'm going to come in here and say, let's add a server to my cluster. And it brings me up a nice add server wizard, appropriately named. And I'm going to go through and say I want to add demo 2 and put in an administrator password.
It's not, oh, it's split. It's not on the screen over there.
Okay. I'll let the techie guys, the background guys, take care of that. So we're going to go and we're going to add this machine to this machine as the controller. So what it's doing now is it's going and getting information about the machines, network cards, etc. And this is not what it's supposed to do. What we are showing here is a very early alpha build. And what we wanted to do, we were so excited about this product. We wanted to show you this and to get you excited about it. So we're even months away from beta. But in any case.
Can we save it, or should I continue on with the story?
Let's continue on with the story.
Okay. So, thanks, Bob. So what would have happened there is, if you get it working, you can go ahead and try it. What would have happened is we would have ran the wizard. We would have been able to add this particular server to the cluster and then manage the fault tolerance, the load balancing. I can set alerts so that if there's an issue with one server, it lets me know on the other one. But there was no smoke and mirrors in this particular demo. As you saw, we had an issue. So I guess I'll try to save it from there. So one other quick story I'll tell real fast then, since I have time for a story. So we were doing a show, and the guys are going to hate that I'm telling this story, but oh well. We were doing this show where Bill had to go out on stage to do a keynote. And it was supposed to start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they were running late. And so we had to tell Bill, gosh, we're going to be running a little bit late. You're not going to get on until 9:15. And he goes, what's the problem? And we said, well, there's some issues with the AV stuff, so we got to get that going. And Bill looks and goes, issues with the AV stuff? How hard can that be? They only have to do two things. The A and the V. What are we running late for? So anyway, demos crash, and that's going to be a great product. The beta for Application Center 2000 will be out in the May timeframe, and hope it will ship by the fall. Obviously, we have a little work to do there. So, Host Integration Server 2000. We have a new upgrade to our whole legacy interoperability investments. We're doing a bunch of stuff to make sure that we can interoperate well with SNA, with NetWare, adding some additional connections to support additional data types in this product. We're going to support bidirectional integration now, so instead of just one way, you'll be able to integrate both ways. There's going to be zero footprint on the host. Some of you may have used our product for managing transactions on CICS using MTS. It's the same product brought together, as well as this replaces our SNA server products. The key is, if you've got a legacy investment or a legacy environment you need to integrate with, this product is going to allow you to bring that together and program against that data and those existing applications. Exchange Server 2000, we have a new upgrade for Exchange Server coming out as well. This is going to be a big upgrade to our core messaging and collaboration product. It's obviously going to be integrated with Windows 2000. One of the great features we've got is it's going to have replication between Exchange and SQL Server. So if you're dealing with issues where you're trying to have data between the two, coordinated and synchronized, there'll be replication support for that. If you're doing sort of web collaboration or message-based kind of collaboration, Exchange is really focused on providing the collaboration, the scale, and the programmability, so you can really program against it and include it inside of your applications, or use it as an application store in addition to SQL Server. Commerce Server 2000, we have a big upgrade to our Commerce Server product. Many of you are familiar with the Site Server Commerce Edition we have today. This is a major overhaul of all areas of the product. It is continued to be built upon SQL Server, so they're taking advantage of all the good features inside of SQL Server. We're doing major improvements on our support for the transaction pipelines, for profiling users. Really, the goal is that if you're a company and you don't want to write your commerce or your e-commerce site from scratch, you want to start with a set of core building blocks. Commerce Server 2000 is focused on providing those core building blocks so you can build your site on those. In addition, of course, this will work with, we've got improved site management capabilities, and it'll work with the Application Center product that we imagined would have worked in the demo. BizTalk. BizTalk is something we've talked a lot about for the past year or so, and the real focus is, what does it take to bring together or to integrate these sets of applications, or to do what we call business process integration. The architecture is all based around XML, or this loosely coupled message-based programming model, and BizTalk is a product that we'd hoped to be out by now. Unfortunately, it's not, so I'll talk about what you can do today. But we do have some things that developers and industries are doing today, and number one is this BizTalk framework support. The key benefits here of BizTalk are it allows you to leverage your infrastructure. It supports all the levels of integration, if it's business to consumer or business to business or even application to application. As far as what's happening today, there is a URL called biztalk.org. And this is something that Microsoft is sort of sponsoring, nurturing, but is by no means our effort. It's a place where industries can get together and post various schemas and frameworks for, in our industry, in the, shoe industry, this is how we will describe a shoe. And the industries get together and post these frameworks. We're approaching 500 different schemas for various industries that they're agreeing on or standardizing on and posting their schemas on biztalk.org. So if you do any sort of development or application work in a vertical industry, I highly encourage you to check out biztalk.org to see if there's some standard schemas you want to make sure you support inside of your products. BizTalk.org is really run by a steering committee of a bunch of folks from different industries and different ISVs that are gathering all this stuff together. So what you can do about BizTalk today, since the server product isn't out yet, we do have what we call a jumpstart kit. And this is a set of templates and sample code that you can start using to enable you to program easily against the XML framework and this XML infrastructure today. It works with our tools, and it's available and downloadable from Microsoft.com. We are going to have a tech preview in April, so the product will be something you'll be able to look and pound on as far as the actual BizTalk server itself. And the goal is our server will be available this fall. The focus of the server is really to be the black box that can help you shuttle XML messages and invoices and objects and payload around. But you can start the work today with your Jumpstart kit. So finally, what I want to talk about is just what's going to happen in the next few months. I mean, the reason we're having this conference is to work with you so you can understand what's happening with all of our products. You can understand that we're trying to change the way we think about our products. So in the past, Microsoft has been very silo focused, where we've thought about one product, and if you had a question, how does SQL Server work with whatever, pick your other Microsoft product, typically at Microsoft we weren't very good at answering that. So we're now trying to say, what do we need to do to think end to end with our technology and think about what is the different opportunities we can have working with developers and partners like yourselves so we can provide a complete solution to the customers or to the end, to the end consumers of our various products. Our goal is to have this integrated platform that you can build upon and really understand what are the issues to make things as they work together. So, for example, our commitment is that when you try to install Windows 2000 and SQL Server and App Center and Commerce Server, little things like the install works and they don't step on each other and beginning to work from there so that we can really take advantage of integrating and providing this core platform for you. Second, we want to make clear, I want to make clear to you that we understand that we are only successful with your support. And so we want to provide the end-to-end business opportunity. We want to make sure that there's plenty of opportunity for you to be successful with your products and your offerings and your services. And we've got a major investment in the company to make it easier for you to work with us. In fact, this year we are what I'll call doubling down our investments with the developer community and partners. We're increasing the number of people we have in the company working full-time with the developer community or with this community of close to 1,000 people. We're doubling the amount of money to upwards to almost $500 million this year spent for the developer community. And that $500 million is things like better support, better partnership stuff, more conferences, more opportunity for you to talk to people to take advantage of co-marketing and additional opportunity. The bottom line is that at Microsoft we realize we need to bend over backwards to let you know we want to be great partners. The reputation and rumors and perception out there is, gosh, Microsoft just wants to do things their way. And I'm here to tell you as a guy that's a leader in the developer division that that's not the case. We want to work with you, we appreciate your support, and if there's anything that we can do to make your job easier, please let us know. We're in this together, and hopefully this WinDNA 2000 will be a great year for all of us to continue to build great applications and have great success. Thanks very much.